WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I have something from Adelphi again, Glenrothes, single malt, and it's the Adelphi Selection. Vintage 2007, bottle 2021, therefore 13 years old from a refill sherry butt. So Adelphi Selection. And what we have here is cask number 10236. So we have a total of 604 bottles at a alcohol volume of talking and pouring difficult 59.8% ABV. The price of this at the moment is around 99 euros and 50 cents, let's call it that. Whiskybase number 177915. What am I going to compare it to? I'm going to compare it to bing, 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 bing. Now, this is the old particular Glenrothes. This is from the Midnight series, and it's 48.4% ABV. Now, I used to think Adelphi was somewhat on the higher price scale. Now this 48.4%, yes, it is 15 years old. Yes, this is only 13 years old. This is 119 euros. This is 109 euros. Sorry, 99 euros. So 20 euros less for 2 years younger, but you get 59.8%. Here you only have 48.4. Now, if you want to compare this on Whiskybase, this is the Whiskybase number 178189, and they got a total of 312 bottles at 48.4% from a sherry butt. How does that happen? So I have here 600 bottles, give or take. 600 times 0.7 is 420 liters. A sherry butt has 500 liters. 80 liters were for the angel share, which first of all tells me that this was not put in the cask at 63.5%. It did not lose less than 3% alcohol over those 13 years. So this was probably put in the cask maybe about 68, maybe even a little bit more percentage. Not a bad thing, just something we learn over the time to figure this out. Now, if we go over here to the old particular and we do the same type of math, we take 320, we times it, but we multiply it by 0.7, that's the size of the bottle. So you get around, let's do 300, that's 220 liters. Wait, was the sherry butt broken? Did it leak? No, it was basically, they only bottled half the cask. What they're going to do with the other half, or what they will do or have done with it, I don't know. But that's also something there. So this is actually more expensive, which is particular. All right, so on the color, you're going to notice two things, at least I noticed two things. This is darker than this. So I'm going to put this up here so you can see the darkness here, and there we have the normal color. So they're basically at the moment, I'm going to call them three types, that's my classification, three types of general sherry butts or refill sherry butts. We have the new that are dark. And I call those the syrup butts. Yeah, because they really take sherry that is concentrated like a syrup, and they put it into the cask and give it a lot more flavor. Not an Oloroso, not a Pedro Jimenez, not any other type of sherry. It's more of a syrup. Okay, no problem. Then we have the old sherry. I just did a video about Mortlach where that old sherry flavor just shined through. It was like, a breath of fresh air. It was so great. And then in between those two, between the ones that were before 2000 and between the ones that started around, I don't know, 2015, let's call those the syrup casks. In between, we had a lot, and that's really, really my problem, a lot of sherry butts that were actually sulfured. Sulfur is for me absolutely something that does not belong in my whiskey. Sulfur is not something that was in whiskey 50 years ago. and hopefully in 50 years from now it won't be there either. But a lot of people actually transported these sherry casks, seasoned sherry casks, from Jerez in Spain all the way up to Scotland, maybe in the summer, maybe in the heat. And what they did to prevent these casks from actually turning bad was they put that sulfur candle in there, and they turned the oxygen in there a little bit to a sulfur oxide, and that prevented the sherry moment in there from spoiling. And unfortunately, it spoiled my whiskey. Now, Adelphi, at least in my personal opinion so far, I'm very, very surprised with this one, has had a great track record of rejecting a lot of casks. So they themselves say 96% of all casks they receive, they reject. They only take on 4% of the casks that they receive, and they actually bottle them. That's being very, very picky. And they have a guy there. The guy is called Charlie McLean, and a few other people work together, and the Charlie McLean, the nose, and they guarantee excellent, excellent casks. So if I'm going to buy a Adelphi Selection bottle, it's going to be, at least in my personal expectations, a bottle that I'm going to enjoy or I'm going to love. And so far, there have been no real duds in between. All right, so now the problem I have here is sulfur. So they have reused a cask that originally contained sulfur before it was filled with the whiskey. Now it's been emptied and it's refilled, and they fill it again, and the sulfur's still there. I dislike the sulfur. Many, many people in Germany are absolutely, it's like tone deaf. They're absolutely blind to this sulfur moment. So they'll drink this and they'll love this, and they'll just praise this whiskey as one of the best in the world. And I take it, and it's terrible. And they go, what is wrong with you, Jason? Don't you taste the sulfur? It's like, no, there's no sulfur in there. It's like, yes, there is. And I once heard a fact that I think, over half the people in Germany are basically sulfur blind. In America, it's less than 30%. So about 70% of the people in America are very sensitive to sulfur, and in Germany it's less than 50%. Don't quote me on those numbers. It's something I heard and something I barely remember. So I might be off by 50% on these facts. So never believe a fact unless you made it up yourself. But I do remember absolutely hearing that Germans are less sensitive, at a much higher percentage of Germans are less sensitive to sulfur than the Americans are. I know that, I just don't remember the exact facts. All right, so this is a whiskey that I am personally not going to enjoy because of the sulfur factor. Every time Glenrothes, I have absolutely this wonderful orange marmalade, that orange peel moment, vanilla, wood. I like a good Glenrothes. Over here are syrup Glenrothes from the Midnight series. Yep. It's got that that raisiny, probably the Pedro Jimenez is coming through there, and a little bit of a jam, like a plum jam. Got some sweetness, got some wood, got some fermented grapes in here. It's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. All right. So 59.8%, a little nip. For the very start, I just know that this is going to be too strong for me. It burns a tiny little bit, it's supposed to. This is something that there are a few different types of people that like this whiskey, or this type of whiskey, cask strength around 60%. The people who just like drinking cask strength, 60% ABV whiskey, single malt. That burn is something for them as I'm going to call them a badge of honor. Not for me. I put water in my whiskey, I dilute it down to 50-some%, I'm happy. And the second person is the person who buys the bottle, goes, hey, I get maybe a 1 liter bottle out of this for the same price as 0.7 because I'm going to add my own water. I know exactly where I want to have it. Is it 46? Is it 50? Is it 52? Is it 55? After 1 or 2 times, I understand what I want. I need, boom, can do it. And that's something that is really, really nice about cask strength whiskey straight from the barrel. Oh, and this is something that I did not, or I have not experienced that much. Let's say that much is when you add water, the sulfur gets stronger. Usually I kind of dilute the sulfur a little bit, but not in this big bad boy. The sulfur actually bellows out even stronger and more intensively. Now, after whining and complaining about all the sulfur, this is still a good whiskey. I still get a wonderful, wonderful orange marmalade, orange peel moment. I get clove, I get dark chocolate, I get plum, I get vanillas, I get a little bit of gingerbread in here. This is a very good whiskey. Unfortunately, the sulfur moment is a little bit more intense than I actually like it. So, what am I going to give this? I'm going to give this a C minus D plus, for me in particular. Whiskey from the viewpoint of an American. And someone else who's not sulfur sensitive might actually give this a B. This has a lot of good potential in here. A little bit of water, a little bit of time, wonderful, if you're not sulfur sensitive. Value for money, the 99 euros is still a little bit more money than I'd like to pay for something, especially with the sulfur. If I'm going to give it a C minus, D plus, I have to give it a D for value for money. I was expecting a great whiskey. That guarantee from Adelphi usually, but unfortunately something slipped through the cracks here and made its way to us, the public. All right, going over here to our 48.4%. Old Particular, why, Douglas Lang, why did you dilute this down so far? What I really dislike about this whiskey, Jason's complaining today, ranting and raving, is that aftertaste. There's this burnt grape jelly moment. I like a whiskey that does this. Oh yeah. And this whiskey was like, oh, and that aftertaste, that long lingering burnt type of, I'm going to call it burnt grape jelly moment is just not what I want. All right, so not happy today, but my question of the day is, what is your favorite Glenrothes product? It could be something from the original distillery bottlings, or it could be an independent bottler. I really like I don't have that at the moment here, the Whiskey Maker's Cut. 48.4% I think it is. Belongs to Addington Group, Glenrothes, Highland Park, and Macallan at the moment. And that Whiskey Maker's Cut, beautiful, beautiful taste, beautiful, beautiful presentation, a wonderful, wonderful whiskey. So my recommendation is neither nor, but rather the Whiskey Maker's Cut. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, tell others. And all the best, and we'll see each other soon. Whiskey Jason here. Bye-bye.